the mayfly?
Let's start off with a mayfly.
Okay, right. Okay, let's find a fine wire. Ten? Now then, we normally start a fly with the same order: tail, body, wing, or hackle, wing. Today we're going to tie the wing in first, just to be awkward. The reason why we tie the wings in first is purely because if we tied in the wing when the body was formed, you know, the little sort of stalks, you would have to come back and tie them in. The only other way you could do it is to tie the wing in that way. So you then tie the wing in like that and then twist it up. And then you would end up with a bulky head. So the reason why we tie the wing in first is we can deal with that sort of, that stalky bit first. Yep. So we're going to take a pair of yellow Mallard breast, and we're going to just take one to start off with, because what we want to do is to match the hook with the size of the wing. So what I've done now is just peeled back fibers. I'm going to strip those out of the way and just match that up.
Have a wee look at that.
The wing.
Let's have a wee check.
I'm going to take the other feather and just match it up so the tips are equal, and where the second feather falls in, I'm going to strip that out. And what we should have, two feathers of the same size. Now what we're going to tie is a fan wing mayfly. So what we need to do is to place them back to back, like so, and just place them on top of the hook. Now you can see straight away they've split round. So again, this is going to be one of those awkward sessions where we play around and try and get out of the trouble we have with these. So I'm going to try another trick. Just lift up the feather, put another turn on, and then tighten. And just run down the shank a few times and cut those off.
What was the trick there, Mark, to stop them looping around?
I lifted the feathers up with a couple of turns of the tying silk just to roll them around a bit. Now what we can do now is just take a couple of turns in front of those feathers, and you can see they've come up a bit, but we still want to get them looking straighter. So what we're going to do, a little bit, just a little bit more control, is to take the tying silk between the two feathers in a figure of 8. And what you can do is even take a turn around the base of the feather, so it stands up like so. Again, different feathers behave in different ways. You have to play around, either do more figures of 8 or turn around the base. But if you can get the wing looking something like that, you can then carry on down the body, tie the tail in. I'm just taking 3 or 4 cock pheasant feathers, and we don't want them too long, say about 3/4 of an inch. It's fine. Put them in one turn, just pull them up a little bit. I'm happy with that. And we'll just take a little bit of gold wire, gold oval, just put that in. I'm going to use grey squirrel. You can use hare's ear if you've got it, or even a seal's fur. Doesn't really make any difference. What you want to tie, again, just wrap that round. I'm going to tie just a little bit short of that wing with the fur. Holding the wing out of the way whilst I do the wire. To the right. Just a couple of 3 turns, pull it back. Out of the way. Now I'm going to use, what shall I use? A red game hackle, and these are what they call Indian game hackles, so they're not particularly long. So what I'm going to do is pull 2 of those out. Just snip the fluff off. Put them shiny side together and then turn them over so the dull side is facing me, and then tie them in tightly and just bring the silk round beyond the wing to the front nearest the eye. Put the first hackle around maybe 2 times close to the base of the wing, and then put the hackle pliers on. So what we've done is a couple of turns behind the wing and a few turns in front of the wing and tie that off. 2 turns, take the hackle pliers off, and do the same with the second hackle. We're going to come up behind that wing, put the hackle pliers on, just going to squeeze one more turn out of that hackle, and then tie it in place. Good finish. Let's pinch the hackles out. Take the fly out of the vise and just try and square up the hackle and square those wings up.
Gorgeous.
There we are.
Well
Nice
done, Mark.
job.
Gorgeous.
It's a good-looking fly,
Yeah.
and
Gorgeous.
And again, you know, you can play around different colour hackles, different coloured wings. I've got green there.
because is that the green drake?
That's the green drake. Yes,
They do have a green hue on the wings.
that's right. Yes.
I do
I mean,
like
I
the
could
green.
have tied it up with the green. But, or even the natural, you know, the white natural feather. You know, they're all good fish takers. That's one pattern which I used to tie a lot of flies for corib with a white hackle or a badger hackle with natural raffia.
Evening,
Brown
Peter.
hackle at the
What's that other
Oh.
fly Used to tie for corb.
Sorry, Huey.
What's that other fly you used to tie for the corb all the time? What was it?
The other one was that one, I think.
No, it
Oh.
wasn't. You used to tie a load of them for that tackle shop.
That's right, yeah. Well, I used to do about 12 dozen of that pattern there.
Yeah,
Another 12 dozen of that pattern.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that one. I used to go mad for the mayflies.
Yeah,
Loads of them.
lovely fly. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Beautiful, Mark.
All right. Right. Okay. So as we said before, we're going to use duck feather, and I'm just going to match up the size of the wing with the hook, and just strip either side of the flue off. Take another feather, put it in front, match up the tips. And strip that one off.
So you've laid one on top of the other, Mark, and then stripped them off evenly at the same place. And the tips are aligned there, chaps. So they're even. Yep, very nice.
Okay. Now, as I said earlier, we could put them in that way, but you're going to end up with a lot of bulk at the eye. So what we want to do is turn them and just put them in. See how they twist and turn. So what I'm going to do is take one turn off, grip them so they meet together, and just lift the feather up so they lie a little bit flatter. Put another turn of silk around and go down. Just hold them in place. With the feather now, lift them both up together and put a turn in very close to the stalk. And just fold them down and do a figure of eight. Just to pull them apart. And you can see the back feather there hasn't quite matched up. So what I'm going to do is take the silk around the base of the wing just to set it up. Now what I could do is carry on with that So I could take the silk round and round. Like so. And that would give me the basis for parachute.
That's a nice looking fly.
Is that showing up?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you wanted to tie this particular pattern with a parachute hackle by turning the silk around the base of the wing, you can do that. I'm going to take those turns off.
So that's corrected that farther hackle mark from twisting away, that put
Yeah.
it post in.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Mark, when you have the two feathers, tied facing forward, how do you then get them to sit up? I think I've lost you on that part, so I might have to watch this one.
Okay. Should we run through it again, Mark? Yeah?
If you can, but no problem if you want to carry on at all.
No. What I've done is just tied the stalk to the back. Now the wings could be any way. You just don't know until you've got those feathers tied up.
Yeah, I had them on, and then I've
Yeah.
taken them off, but they were facing
All right.
forward. They were
Okay.
facing forward, and I thought that was gone wrong.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is to make them cock up. We're just going to hold them together and put a turn right at the base. That turn there. To sit them up, you can put a turn between the two, like so. That's called the figure of 8 knots. And if you're doing booby eyes or spent wings, that's the knot to use, the tying to use. Now I preferred my wings to be a little bit higher, set cocked up. So what I'm doing is taking the turn round the base and back down. And I'll do another one. It's all about just trying to play around with what you've got in front of you and altering the way you're tying to what you want to achieve.
So I presume, Mark, you have to be relatively sparse in tying it around the base, or you turn that wing into a, as you said, parachute, or more of an indicator than a wing. Is that right? Or do you not worry about that?
I wouldn't worry about that, to be honest, no.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. I mean, when you see these fly tying sessions on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, I mean, they may have 5 or 6 takes at getting everything completely right. And it gives a false impression of what's involved in, fly tying. And a lot of these feathers do not behave as you want them to. And, this lesson tonight, we've done a fair number of sessions, and it's problem solving, if you like. You know how the feather should look, but getting it to that condition, that state, takes a little bit of playing around, and that's what fly tying's about. It's not about copying a fly tied perfectly off a video and
Well,
expecting.
if you're looking to learn to fly tie, you don't want to see how good he can do it in one take. You want to see it how it's done slowly, so you can follow step by step. Yeah.
Mm.
And slowly. No hurry with it. That's the way, isn't it? Yeah?
We'll put a tail on the end of this.
That dyed pheasant tail there, Mark, you've put in, or?
Yeah, I'll just put a bit of yellow in, yellow dyed pheasant tail.
I think moose mane is sometimes used on some of these patterns.
Yeah, it's
Much of a muchness.
How long's your tail on that one, Mark?
that's a little bit longer than what I would like, actually. Looking at it now, the reason why I've just changed my glasses on, I couldn't see what I was doing. So it's just
As a guide, Mark, there it's if you take the very tip of the eye to the very edge of the bend of the hook, that tail is about that length, I would say, maybe a smidge longer. Would you say, Mark? That's a full hook length rather than a body length.
Yeah, full hook length would be right for the mayfly, I think.
Because it's all about proportions.
So a little bit of fur. It really doesn't matter what you want to use. I mean, you can tie this with a foam cylinder. It doesn't have to be this type of body. You can plenty of patterns out there you can choose. Just fold the wing out of the way.
So it's just about 5 turns on the body.
Yeah. Okay. What was the previous fly? What hackle did we use on that?
We used a red game.
Red game. Okay. Just going to put in a slightly darker red game hackle. The other thing you could do, of course, is use a different hackle. You could use a badger or a furnace, one of each. Play around. Just looking at that. And putting the two hackles together in the shop. So it's the dull side, the concave side facing you.
So that hackle is curving towards you, in other words. Curving towards you. Is that a badger you've got there, Mark?
No.
Still the red
these
game.
are two red games. But,
Just on the detail there that I would have got caught out on, went quite close to the hackle at the wings on the body. So I think, Mark, you just went back a couple of turns with the thread to make yourself room to tie in that hackle, maybe two
Yep.
turns worth. So if you've dubbed right up to the wings, be confident in going back a couple of turns with the thread to give yourself a bit of room.
okay. I'm just going to put the
How many turns did you put in the back there, Mark, before you start moving forward?
2 turns is probably enough.
2 turns in the back and then about 3 or 4 in the front, or 3?
Depending on the length of the hackle, really. I mean, these are Indian cockcapes, so they're not good quality.
When you say good quality, is it the denseness of fibre, or is it
Denseness and the length of the feather. If you look at a genetic saddle cape or any genetic,
oh yeah, they're very long, aren't they?
they're very long. You
The
can
feathers
obviously
themselves.
get the, yeah.
So you could get multiple flies out of one feather
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
because they're so long.
Yeah. I'm just going to put a quick finish on that.
So then you'd search in and nip out the hackle tips after you've whip finished there, Mark. You just get that all tied in
Yeah, I'm just going to straighten up now.
and you just
Pull the
pinch them
wings
out.
around.
Would you put a drop of varnish in between the wings, or leave it, or cement or anything?
I wouldn't do it myself personally, but
Because once
there
they're
we go.
tied in, that's it. They're
Yeah,
good
that's
to go.
fine. You just really need to take the fly out of the vise and straighten up the hackle and straighten those wings out again.
See that straight on there, Mark, as well. Would you mind? It's going back in the vise.
Yeah.
It's just you brought the hackle forward there as you were finishing the whip. It just pushed it back a bit, and that's just
Yeah.
as it should be. Very nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. The other thing with, I mean, certainly a lot of these feathers is when you get them in the bag. I mean, I've got bags and bags of feathers. They'll twist and they'll crumple up and they'll go out of shape. For argument's sake, I'm just pulling out a load of feathers. And there's a classic example. Can you see that feather?
Yeah.
Which is twisted round. So it should look like that. But it's in the bag, it's twisted. Let's get that out of the way. Can you see how it's twisted around?
Mm.
And the one thing you can do is, I mean, certainly, there's another example. Can you see the feathers all mangled up? Not as they should be. So what you need to do is put the kettle on, get a load of steam going, and it'll straighten the feathers out. If you're tying, for argument's sake, Mallard dabblers, the first thing you want to do is to put those feathers under the those feathers, the Mallard feathers, steam them. It'll straighten them out and it'll reduce the curve of the feather.
Oh, wow.
And with that fly, Frank, I know it looks a bit technical. When I was trying to learn new things, I would just concentrate, because it's the first stage anyway. You could just concentrate on pairing up the feathers and then stripping them off and then putting them opposite like that. And then all you've got to worry about is tying the stems on the hook and doing what that Mark did, like put a couple of turns behind and a couple of turns in front and go round once. And then you might be there. You might just be there and just manipulate them and just practice that bit of that fly, which I'll have to do on the weekend. But it's just, if you've got a video, it's just like I was so scared to touch the feathers learning to tie and thinking, oh, they're delicate. But once you've got them in place, you can pull them about a bit and then tie them in. Once you're happy, maybe you do a figure of eight.
That's right, Will. I mean, tying the mayfly wing in initially, I went back 5 or 6 times to tie that base in place. You can cut it because it's not going to move then. Once that's done, you can then work about getting the angle of the wing set right.
And then, Frank, it's tails, body, rib, and hackle, and finished.
Yeah.
That's it, and you're good to go. It's just getting those wings in at the start, and which is what the lesson is for, to tie those tricky ones. Because as Mark was saying, Peter, you do that figure of 8 that we're doing here for the booby, to do the booby eyes.
Yeah, I was doing some today with super glue on the thread as well. It's tricky.
Yeah.
Can you do them mayfly, Pete?
Sorry?
Can you tie them mayfly?
I've never tried one, Frank. No.
No. Bring them to
Double.
Rutland, because we've got mayfly in Rutland, apparently. Oh, they are.
I've seen a few of them last year in the summer. Apparently, there's a river that comes in and there's mayfly coming. We'll try one out.
No, I've got some tied by other people, but no, I haven't tried them myself yet. I
Mark,
haven't got feather. I haven't got feathers like
Yeah, I mean, if you're tying, for argument's sake, a wolf, a royal wolf, or a grey wolf, you can use that figure of 8 to separate deer hair. You can use it to separate out CDC wings. So it's just, using a different style of tying to manipulate wings, really.
Like-
And if you want them just sort of parted slightly, then just 1 or 2 figure of 8s. If you want them spent, what they call spent, you just do more figure of 8s.
and sherry spinner, you tie it straight in with a figure of 8. You're tying a poly wing that's horizontal.
That's right, yeah. Poly wings again, another thing you would use that for.
We'll revisit it if we do a sherry spinner or something like that. But Peter, that's the technique for that. That you were saying, look, we need these green wolf mayflies. You sent me some patterns for the corib or whatever with the they're like a raw wolf, but they're green.
green.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
figure
it.
of
Yeah.
8 for that. And Mark Thomas, have you got something to show there?
Yeah, you're right. The wings are very fiddly. I can't. I don't even know if you can see it. But
I definitely fished that.
No, that's fine. Mark,
Look at that.
from what I can see, that is fine. Brilliant.
Very well
I'll
done.
put another picture up on the group, but I don't know.
Very well done. That is very well done.
One wing looks to have gone a bit dodgy, but I'd stick it on. You're right.
Absolutely. Very well
Good.
done.
It's as much as using proportion as anything else. It's proportion, manipulation, everything's coming together. And as I say, the first
Very
couple of
nice.
lessons we could have said, oh, don't do it like this, don't do it like that, do it like. It's white noise. It wouldn't really make a blind bit of difference. But if you can now sort of feel your way through what you're doing, it's more enjoyable. You're able to assimilate information and techniques. It makes it.
That's
that
pretty
much
much
easier.
7 weeks of is it 6 or 7 weeks of lessons
This is the
come
7th
together
week.
on one flight,
Believe
isn't
it. Yeah, 7th week, and last
Yeah.
week is the last one of the series. But Mark's kindly agreed to do some other patterns, which we'll be consulting on. Jason, do you have a pattern that you'd like to share?
Yeah. I can't see it. I don't know.
Let's have a look at that. In front ways on, Jason.
Wait, you got it. Yeah,
Done this before. Well done.
good man. Good man.
I just tied the wings a little bit too far forward, that's all. But
That's.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. Being a bit critical there, Mark. being overly critical, but that's very well done. Michael, did you tie one?
Well, yes. I wouldn't say I've really mastered it. Where's it?
A bit close to the camera. A bit close. Oh, Michael, well done.
It's sort of right. I mean, it's a bit of a mess, but hey, what the?
Very
I think
nice.
It's good, Michael. You catch a fish.
very
Yeah, I
well
mean,
done, Michael.